On the stabilization, you say those 700 billion capex, that's the capex to actually build these offshore wind projects. The stabilization will come out on top, and that refers to the grid improvements across the industry, but it also refers to an entire new industry around power to X or green hydrogen, which is a growing segment in the energy transition. And that's where you're seeing energy islands. So that number is still being, you can say, developed to fully curb, because as mentioned, offshore wind right now is a small fraction of the energy mix at the moment.
Soren, we've had a strange moment, though, haven't we, where we've seen headline oil prices very strong, over $70 a barrel for some time now. And yet even that you might think that would be pushing money into renewable energy assets, we've actually seen Vestas down over the one-year story 36%, and we've seen ETFs in the global clean energy space down something like 40% over the past year. Why is there this mismatch between what you'd expect to be a clear stimulus to green energy activity and the way that green energy assets seem to be performing?
Yeah, so there's a lead time from the time you're actually investing the capex into the industry before you're starting to see steel in water, and in turn then also before you're seeing the revenue appearing on companies such as Vestas balance sheets. You could say that the challenge right now for Vestas and some of the other players in the supply chain is that, as also mentioned at the start, you are seeing the subsidies being reduced significantly, and that's then putting a squeeze on the industry, especially in the short term, where we're not seeing significant build-out of offshore wind here in 2018, 19, 20, and also into 2024. So in this time, you're not seeing a lot of demand, and you see pressure on margins, which is then impacting the companies in the industry. But from 2024 and onwards, you're then seeing a rapid rise in demand for offshore wind and build-out of offshore wind, which is then again will have a more positive effect on these companies.
The energy crunch that we're witnessing at the moment has raised some concerns that current renewable energy assets don't seem to be working as they're supposed to in particularly cold periods. So the energy input from solar, from wind, doesn't seem to be living up to expectations, even as we are struggling with higher gas, electricity and oil fuel bills. Do you think that changes the way governments think about allocating money to renewable energy subsidies, or do we continue with the same policy approach?
We're definitely seeing changes. So far, the focus in the offshore wind sector has been on getting the price down of offshore wind and then getting more offshore wind power into the grid. But what we're seeing right now is, like you were mentioning, some challenges of actually integrating this and stabilizing the grid. So we're seeing governments already looking into this. So whereas in the past, I would say already, since 2016, we have seen the different companies bidding in these different government tenders to focus a lot on the cost. But we are right now starting to see some governments, for example, the Dutch government, to now also say, we'll not just look at the price of the offshore wind project that you're offering, we'll also look at systems integration. So if there's different initiatives that could help better absorb the power from these offshore wind turbines into the grid. So the government is very well aware of this challenge, and so is the industry. And there's a lot happening right now to make sure that the significant build-out that we're seeing in offshore wind will not just be more of the same, it will not just be more green power, it will in fact also be, you will actually also be able to integrate this better into the grid.